Today I want to go over a fascinating phenomena known as the third man, or the presence. And I would like to thank one of my patrons, Mr. Tucker, for suggesting this story. Explorers who have ventured into the great unknown have stated that they felt like there was a presence watching them, or even at times walking side by side with them. And even though they couldn't see this entity, they knew it was there. Some explorers believe that this presence was divine, God or angels helping them on their journey. Others explorers have stated that this presence made them feel uneasy, and they were just really creeped out by this feeling that they were not alone. This phenomena was made famous by a poem written by T.S. Eliot. The poem reads, "Who is this third that walks beside you? When I count, there's only you and I together. But when I look ahead on the white road, there's always another one walking beside you." Eliot stated that he wrote this poem after reading a book called South by the explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton. Ernest wanted to be one of the first explorers to explore Antarctica, so he put together a team of 27 scientists and experienced adventurers. And in 1914 they set sail, but sadly their ship, the Endurance, got surrounded by ice, and they had no choice but to abandon ship. The crew gathered what supplies they could as fast as possible, as ice water was now starting to flood their boat. Luckily, all of them were able to escape to Elephant Island, but they knew they weren't going to survive for much longer, as they had very little food, and it was extremely cold. So Sir Shackleton decided that he had no choice, he had to try to get help. So he got together 5 men and took a rowboat that they managed to save. Shackleton knew that there was a whaling camp on the island of South Georgia, but that island was 800 miles away. So he and his 5-man crew against the odds started paddling the best they could to the whaling camp. There were a few close calls along the way, such as the rowboat almost capsizing. But after 17 days they finally made it to South Georgia. But the hardest part of their journey was just beginning. They, in a very weakened state, had to hike over a mountain range to get to the whaling station. Now at this point Shackleton decided to bring just 2 men with him, as he had no idea what was in store for them on this hike. So 2 men stayed behind with the rowboat just in case they didn't make it. But amazingly, Shackleton and these 2 other brave men did find their way to the whaling station. They hiked for 36 hours, starved and frozen cold, but somehow they made it. And also, every single member of the 27-man crew that Shackleton brought with him did survive. They all got to go home and see their families. Now during the hike, when they were at their weakest, Shackleton had a feeling that there was a 4th man hiking along with them, and he wasn't the only one. In fact, the 2 other men believed the exact same thing. One of them told Shackleton, "Boss, I had a curious feeling on the march that there was another person with us." And after he said that, the other hiker agreed. And because of this, Shackleton decided to write about this phenomenon in his book. He said that if he didn't write about it, the records of their journey would be incomplete. Another famous case happened to a veteran climber, Frank Smythe. Frank wanted to be the first man to climb Mount Everest. So in 1933, he tried to achieve this lifelong dream. And while he was climbing Everest with a few of his friends and other climbers, he realized that he was all alone. All the other climbers at one point on their journey went back down the mountain. But Frank, he was determined to make it. But eventually, just like the other climbers, he stopped. His body just would not go any further. So all alone on this giant frozen mountain, he had to turn around and start his long journey back, just hoping and praying that he would be able to make it. Now at around this time, while Frank was fighting his best to survive, he felt that there was someone else with him. He later stated, "All the time I was climbing alone, I had a feeling there was another person with me. The feeling was so strong that it eliminated all the loneliness I might have otherwise felt. This feeling of a companion felt so real that at one point I even offered a piece of my cake to it, but I was shocked to find out that there was no one there." Now thankfully Frank made it back okay, and he said that once he saw the base camp down below, this presence that he felt so strongly just vanished. And during the rest of the walk back to base camp, he felt truly alone. Another mountain climber, Herman Bull, in 1953 said that he felt the same thing that Frank did when he was climbing Nanga Parbat, another massive mountain in the Himalayas. Mr. Bull, who climbed this mountain all alone, said that his journey to the top of the mountain was very difficult, but the descent was harder as he lost some of his gear along the way. And when he was walking down, he felt that there was a presence with him. Herman stated, During those hours of extreme tension, I had an extraordinary feeling that I was not alone. I had a partner with me that was looking after me. Now, there are many stories from adventurers and explorers that are just like this. The stories I just told are well documented, as they happened a long time ago, but it does happen often to people who are fighting to survive in the wilderness. And what really fascinates me about this phenomena is how these people knew when this presence had left them. And it makes me wonder, what if other explorers who sadly died on their journeys also felt this presence? As I'm curious to know, is it our mind creating this feeling of another person when we're fighting to survive? Or could this really be guardian angels? There are also tons of reports from people who have nearly died that claimed they saw an entity that no one else could, or attackers not attacking because they believed they were outnumbered, or so they thought they were. And could these entities that these very lucky people saw be the presence that these explorers feel? A while back I made a video about the 6-day war that happened in Israel in 1967. Some believe that this victory was a miracle, and one of these miracles might have a connection to the third man syndrome or the presence. In 1973, a lone Israeli soldier took an entire Egyptian patrol all by himself, and when they asked the Egyptian commander why he and his men gave themselves up to this one lone soldier, he replied, "One soldier? No, there were thousands of them." And when they crossed into Israeli territory, these beings just vanished. And this soldier, who was now a hero, said that he couldn't make any sense of it. He thought he was surely going to die, but instead the Egyptian forces just turned themselves into him. This photo right here is one of my favorite paranormal photos. A 58-year-old woman, Rose, was driving to eastern New York when she got into a very bad accident. Rose swerved off the road to avoid hitting a stray dog, and a photographer whose job it is to take pictures of accidents took this photo, and he and Rose were shocked at what they saw. Rose truly believes that this apparition in this photo is her guardian angel, and there are many other cases just like this.
Okay, hi. This actually happened to me and it was crazy. So in 2019, the person who pays my bills and I, we were involved in a catastrophic car accident that left me disabled. We were not wearing seatbelts. Please always wear your seatbelt. So basically he hydroplaned into a tree and it was nothing he could do to like stop that. So he acted as my seatbelt and like tried to strap me. And of course that didn't work, but you know, at least he tried. So we rammed tree. From how I started the story to now, we had the same story. Now what I'm about to tell you, we didn't. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But whatever. So I open the car door. I'm like, help, help, help. This lady comes, drags me out from underneath like my arms and onto the grass. So it was road, grass, and then the ravine where we hit. So she's like, my name's Amber. I'm a nursing student. Keep talking to me. So I'm talking to her. I'm coughing blood. I'm spitting glass on her. She's like, it's okay. Just talk. All I can smell is car crash, right? So I'm talking to her, but I'm like, I'm scared. I have really bad anxiety. I have panic attacks. I feel like I'm going to panic. She's like, no, it's fine. She's just rocking me back and forth. And she's just being so like cradling, like she's treating me like I'm a child, right? So the truth was that once I got out, he got locked in and they had to wait for the jaws of life to get him out. But I don't know any of this. I'm just on the ground. The police were notified at 4:41 of the car accident, but the paramedics didn't get there till 4:51. So it was a 10-minute time span exactly. The police get there, of course, earlier, and they're like, what's going on? They can see my injuries, but I can't see my injuries. Amber's like, she has broken ankles. Both of her ankles are broken. And I don't freak out because I remember when she was dragging me, I saw blood rims around my ankles. So it didn't cause me to panic because it was like, okay. But I was still like, what the freak? So then she says, I don't want her to go into shock. And so I jump up. I'm like, shock? I don't want to go into shock. People die from shock. Like shock? Like I'm freaking out now. And she's like, no, you're not going to go into shock. It's okay. It's okay. She leans me back. I can't see my injuries. Nobody will let me see what's wrong. But I now am aware that, you know, I got broken ankles. So then the paramedics come, they load me into the vehicle and the ambulance. And then I'm like, okay, Amber, you're going to call, right? She's like, I'm going to call. I know what hospital you're going to. It's okay. Everything's fine. I'm like, okay. I never hear from Amber again. Okay. Amber was a little larger woman. Like she wasn't like huge, but she was larger and she was a dark skinned woman. And I believe she had her hair in a ponytail and like, it was so real, y'all. It was so real. So I never heard from her again. Everybody on the scene was like, no, there was no Amber. Sorry, it was a man that helped you out the car. From the person who pays my bills perspective, he basically was like, you were screaming my name, bloody murder all the time until the man helped you out the car. And I'm like, oh. Like I'm like, no, y'all, like Amber was there. So it was the craziest experience ever. And, you know, I was really thankful that she was there. And, you know, now I'm like, it is this, like I talk to everybody and they're like, yeah, sometimes that happens, but wild. Completely wild. Thanks, Amber.
Until next time, this is Paranormal Junkie. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.